Welcome everyone to my introduction to my course on Being and Time, Martin Heidegger's seminal text and I would say the most important book of the 20th century. And finally I'm going to teach a course on this book. And the course begins in January of 2023, to be more precise on the 22nd of January. And you can now enroll in my course. What we will discuss in the course are the most important themes of the book. We will focus, of course, on being towards death, on Dasein's ecstatic temporality, on the question of being, which is the question above all, which Being and Time addresses. In fact, the question of Being and Time addresses is, how is it that there is being? And how is it that Dasein has access to being? So, Being in Time really is not an exercise in existentialism. Being in Time is not an anthropology. That was a catastrophic reception in the beginning by people like Sartre and also Husserl, who completely misunderstood what Heidegger was after. And until this day, when you look at figures like Hubert Dreyfus and his acolytes, they have a completely destructive reading of Heidegger's Being in Time, because read it as some sort of psychiatric book in which Dasein's anxieties are described. There's a bit of a, let's say, a Californian reading of Being in Time. It's certainly not about how to take Prozac and overcome your anxieties about death. That's really not the case. Instead, what we are focusing on in Being in Time is purely and solely how being qua presence, not that which is present, but that which provides the presence for that which can be present, how that is to be thought in harmony with and bringing it together with time. And time, however, no longer in the vulgar understanding of time as linear, but time now truly as ecstatic meaning, the coming together of the three dimensions of time, having been, coming to be, and the good presence that is generated from it. And hence Heidegger says, almost in passing, in the question towards the end of the book, why do we think of time as passing us by? Why do we think of time as fleeting? And it is to do with our misguided understanding of death and finitude. If death is merely understood as an event at the end of life, as demise, then death and time in this vulgar understanding gives rise to an understanding of time that is purely linear, as it were one event after another. But it is when death is understood as the ownmost possibility towards which Dasein is, and from which all of its other possibilities arise, on which Dasein can act, that's when time begins to show itself as ecstatically arising. Hence, ecstatic time is a time that gives, it grants, it presents. And it presents in a way that there is a withdrawal from that which has been into the future, and that generates the good presence, then in which Dasein authentically indwells. So we can see that it is through the horizon that is Dasein, in which the human being participates, that the question of being comes to the fore, and the question of being in context or in relationship with time. And look at the very first word of Being in Time. The first word of Being in Time is a Greek word. It's delon. Delon means obvious. And what has been obvious, as Heidegger sees this, he quotes here from Plato's Sophists, what has been deemed to be, or maybe what was obvious, was being as such. But it has now become shrouded in darkness. And this darkness requires a rekindling of the flame of the gigantic battle for the meaning of being. Heidegger sees nothing less, as he says in the first paragraph of the introduction, he sees nothing less at stake than a gigantic battle for the meaning of being in the coming centuries. Of course, this will then play out in his thinking, in his how he understands technology as Gestell. But in this course, we will focus on being in time, but you will see how the later Heidegger, the Heidegger who writes on the Ereignis, on the event as it's mistranslated, or on Gestell, on technology and framing positionality, how this thinking really develops, is all in some sense already there in being in time, sometimes underdeveloped. So we will focus on the question of being, who is Dasein, the they-self, everyday averageness, his destruction of Descartes, being towards death, ecstatic temporality, historicity, and of course, truth as aletheia. Heidegger's understanding of aletheia as unconcealment, as disclosure, which is no longer propositional truth, is not correspondence truth, but is the occurring again of that presence which is being itself, so that there is room for withdrawal and concealment and non-availability, non-presence at hand also. In order to provide what? The ultimate goal of being in time is to provide a fundamental ontology on which to ground the ontologies of the sciences, because Heidegger sees the ontologies of the sciences in profound crisis, and not only Heidegger saw this, Paul Natorp, one of his teachers, Edmund Husserl, Dilthey, Nietzsche, others before him, because post-Hegel, for some reason I won't get into here, there's a collapse of the structure and the logic that has kept the Occident alive and breathing. And ever since, we've been in crisis mode. But for Heidegger, the response will have to be to ground a new ontology or another ontology in Dasein, which has been covered over. Sometimes it has glimpsed up, it has shown up. And this is what we will attempt to get to in the course as well, to understand Dasein's fundamental ontology, which gives rise to a different understanding of being, which could give rise to new ontologies of the sciences, which we, I would say, desperately require. So you can now enroll. The course is 10 weeks long. We will meet on Sundays, always 6 to 8 p.m. UK time, which I think is 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will meet for 2 hours. You get 8 video lectures, and the audio files as well as pre-recorded. When you sign up for the seminars, I lead the seminars. You come in, and it's always a good group. We have breakout sessions. You meet others. You read Being in Time, and you can ask me questions. You can have discussions with the other participants. We will discuss a film, and the 5th seminar will be probably something obviously inspired by Heidegger. I won't get into this now. This is only for those who are enrolled. And at the end of the course of the very last seminar, you can present your own talk. And if you have been following this channel, you will see that many of these talks have been uploaded here. So if you are in any way active as a writer, a journalist, a filmmaker, or an independent creator of any sort, this could be a good way of starting to publish in this manner here and getting the word out a bit. So, to the public of the they-self, to be a bit facetious. I look forward to seeing you at the course, and I hope that you can make it. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. The link to enroll is in the description of this video. So I hope to see you all there in the esoteric, the concealed side of everything, hidden away from this eye of Sauron, this eye of the they-self, the public, and you get to see some of the other side there also. Thank you very much.